a 10th grade English teacher here at McKeel, and so what I'm sharing with you, I started piloting this program about 2 years ago, and it was really born out of, I want to say, frustration on my part, frustration at the FCAT writing process, teaching that. I had been at a county school where we were kind of forced to do 6 essays a year, and we had to make them do an FCAT essay. I taught 8th grade at that time, so, you know, big year, important year. And we were told to give the kids 6 different prompts at 6 different times in the year. We had to grade them, which in itself was a huge undertaking. And then we had to submit those scores to the county on a website. It was all very regimented, and it didn't leave a lot of time for much else as far as instruction of writing. And so I had become so frustrated with that. I wasn't seeing that much improvement. The practicing of the FCAT prompts was not really doing much for my students. So I want to just give you the basics of the 6-word memoir lesson. This is how I do it in my classroom. It is probably the most common thread that I've woven throughout my school year. It comes into play with everything I teach. Because of that, I start the year out giving my kids this assignment, not just to get them familiar with the 6-word memoir format, but it's a way to sort of introduce themselves to the class. It's a way for me to get to know them. It fosters this community feeling, kind of makes us feel like a little family within each period. And so that's the purpose of it. So what I'm about to show you is the about 30-minute lesson that I give in week 1 of school, usually like pretty quickly, right after I've gone over my procedures. The first thing I do with them is I tell them, you know, we're going to be working on this thing called a 6-word memoir. So let's first of all figure out what a memoir is, because even at the 10th grade level, they're not quite sure how to say that word, much less what it specifically means. So we go over the definition, and I just literally, we have kids, you know, we read it, we analyze what it's saying, and so we come to the conclusion that, okay, this is kind of biography information. You can't do a memoir unless you have personal, intimate knowledge of whatever it is you're speaking about, and so we get them to understand that. That's what a memoir is. Then we move on, and I give them the history of the 6-word memoir, because this is not something I've created. I wish I could say that. I probably would have a little bit more money in my pocket, but I cannot. The history actually goes back to Hemingway, and he was challenged by some author buddies of his, because I guess he was known for, you know, being kind of verbose. I bet you can't tell a story using only 6 words. And so pretty quickly he quipped back, for sale, baby shoes, never worn. So I guess he kind of put them in their place. So that's sort of a legend story in the writing world. Smith Magazine, which is an online forum, in 2006 decided they were going to take this story and sort of put the same challenge out to their readers, thinking, oh, this will be like, you know, one edition of our magazine, you know, one weekly thing online. So they challenged their readers to do that, and the influx of 6-word memoirs that they got was overwhelming. They realized that they had tapped some kind of nerve within people. Everyone wanted to share their 6-word memoirs, and it wasn't just their readers. Famous people were contacting them. Oh, this is really cool. They gave them 6-word memoirs. And so since then, there have been at least 8 books published, and they range from, like, you know, 6-word memoirs for adults, for teens, for heartbreak. They even have some 6-word memoirs for Greeks, for Jewish people. Like, it's crazy, and I think they just base their books on what they're getting, you know, and they notice a theme, a pattern, a motif, if you will, and so they kind of put those together into books. So I try to tell them, you know, from what I've seen that other kids have done for their 6-word memoirs, here are some of the possibilities. It can describe you. It can explain your life. It can encapsulate a pivotal point, like where nothing was the same anymore. Summarize a motto. Inspire you. Those are just some things that I've seen. So that kind of helps them get the idea that, oh, I can go anywhere with this. Almost anywhere. I have had a couple students where I've had to say, no, you need to redo this. One boy did one with a picture of a person passed out on a couch, red Solo cups all over the place, and it was something like living for the weekend. I'm like, no, that's not really where we're going with this. So every once in a while I'll get one of those, but it's really not as common as you would think. Most kids take this seriously, and because they know they're sharing it with the class, they want it to be cool. They want it to be a picture of who they are. And that for the most part, they really do put some time and effort into that. Plus, it's the beginning of the year, and they're still like, you know. So that's kind of what I give them for some instruction on where to go with this. Then I answer this question. I try to answer it before it even crops up. Because as they start writing and coming up with their ideas, they will inevitably say to me, Miss Dyer, I have the coolest 7-word memoir. And I'm like, go back to the drawing board. Sorry, it has to be 6. Or I have 5. Sorry. So it is a 6-word memoir by definition. So I make them stick to that. So then I put up just this list of instructions. Usually on this day when I know I'm going to teach this, I'll have them come in, and as soon as they come in, the starter for the day is on my screen, and it has them make lists. What are the most important things in your life? If you could have only 5 things that you owned, what would they be? Who are the 5 most important people in your lives, or in your life? What things do you enjoy doing? Make a list. Like, I just give them a bunch of list things just to make them start thinking of what are the things most important to me. And that kind of gets them in the right mindset for the 6-word memoir.